Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Yakubu Dogara, speaking about appealing to all to ensure that the close ranks and move forward. We're joined now by Dr. Chris Asoluka, who is a governance and legislative expert. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, reading through several reports and comments across board, you see people also talk about the fact that, well, this has happened. They think, what about governance? And one wonders, what do you think about all of this? Are we mindful of the fact that at some point we need to draw the line, and perhaps where do we draw the line between all of this politicking that's going on and then governance?
Very, very interesting. I heard one of your speakers talk about democracy in progress. And when you talk about democracy, we're looking at the issue of power to decide who has what and who influences what is done at any particular point in time. So it's expected that you have this kind of clamor, and it's not unusual over the leadership of the House, because the leadership of the House will define three things: who controls the patronage system, who allocates offices within the House, and also what we call the agenda setting, who determines the flow of events within the course of the legislative years. So most parties don't take it for granted, and individuals as well wouldn't take such things for granted. So it's normal. But the point you're raising, where would this stop for us to have governance? Maybe we are not reinventing the wheels. We have three models of democratic or constitutional governance. You talk about the presidential system in America, you talk about the parliamentary system, you're looking at UK, and you talk about what we call the French model, which is the semi-presidentialism as opposed to parliamentarism. So governance is the real purpose of politics, because we insist that every public policy or public institution must solve certain public problems. And if they fail to solve such problems, it defines their irrelevance. So the National Assembly, no matter the rigors, must first of all brace up for the task ahead in order to solve the enormous national problems facing Nigerians.
And it's over 72 hours since after that election. Have we started seeing that?
You see, I think we're in a hurry. And the mistakes of 2011 has been allowed to fester. And let us take 2015 as a watershed. And parties should begin to create, to become more creative. How do we ensure that we have a majority and we also have a control in the House? If you go asleep and feel last day, hey, everybody vote this, so it doesn't move that way. Because we are copying, say, the American system. And if you do a little historical sketch, there's something we call the antebellum. That's before the Civil War of America. I mean, it could take 3 months for Speaker's position to be determined, because in America, the only legislative post that is recognized by Constitution is the Speaker. So it could take 3 months, but with time, after the Civil War, with the election of Grow, a parliamentarian, the order was restored by the institution of what we call organizational cartel. Organizational cartel will be like Saraki's group, who aim to capture power, as distinct from Lawan's group, aiming to capture power. But how would this play out within the party framework? And which is why you begin to think that majority parties should stop sleeping. They should devise ways to make their influence known in parliaments where they constitute the majority.
Could you shed some light on what you spoke about previously about the three systems, the parliamentary, the presidential, then the French system?
Yes.
Because, I mean, we practiced the parliamentary system in this country.
Before.
Now
yes.
We have the presidential system. But some also think that, I was talking to a senator and he was suggesting that, look, what we're seeing today, after all, it's not strange anywhere, because in France, they had a similar kind of thing where another party was the deputy and while another was the Senate president. Do you think we're still in that learning curve of which system suits us?
You don't even need to go to France to explain it, because the Nigerian Constitution provides that the legislators from among themselves should elect leadership. So it didn't say precisely that the leader of the legislature must be from the majority party. But this is still a kind of evolutionary trend in America. I had you ask one member why they didn't take power, right? Taking power is one thing, retaining power is another thing.
Even though they are in the majority?
Taking power as a minority is one thing. Retaining power as a minority is another thing. Because when the majority wakes up and they begin to put their ass together, you see that your leadership could be spring with banana peels if you are from the minority party. So it was good sense and good strategy on the part of PDP to have, in spite of the temptation, because it was clear 24 hours before the election that Saraki wouldn't budge and Lawan wouldn't budge. So if PDP had thrown up a third candidate, he could have won.
And the leadership of the APC specifically didn't care to see all of that problem, because if you look at the constitutional provision that from amongst themselves,
yes,
and they saw that no one was ready to stand down, why didn't they let a free process?
Okay.
Because really, if they had gone ahead and a third or a fourth APC member had emerged,
yes,
then you have a
yeah, because there were three options.
Yes, absolutely.
You choose either Saraki or Lawan, you choose a PDP member, or you throw a white card from amongst the APC, whom you could extract more from. Because having no base, relying on PDP would be more to deal. In coalition theory, it's a winning coalition. When you are not bringing so much and you rely on the other to bring so much to the table in order for you to capture power. So what we are saying, your question, why did APC sleep? Just like PDP slept in 2011. But one would have thought that by now. Like in America, we are not reinventing the wheels. In America, it happened that voting for leadership in the Congress was a secret ballot issue. But when the caucuses started emerging, and the Republicans would call them their own conferences, after any election, the parties would determine a date where the caucus would meet for every interested party man who wants to vie for a certain position. But once the caucus resolves to support Chamberlain, the issue is now enforcement in order to avoid what we call bolters. In fact, that was the term of Woodrow Wilson. Those who would decide to defy the decision of the caucus. Of course, there were sanctions, there were penalties. And with time, which was why Americans will opt for open ballot system, in order to monitor how the decision of the caucus got implemented. But it didn't even stop the rebellious group from saying, go to hell, I'm not going to vote for that guy. They will be regarded as voters.
Do you see them perhaps properly handling this scenario such that you will not have bolters?
No, I think it will be resolved. I think APC, with time, the anger will calm down. They will know that it's better to have part of your big show than have nothing. Because if this rancor continues, it will be surprising that a party in majority, both in the executive and in the legislature, could behave as if it's a broken government. We say a government is broken when the legislature is controlled by another party and the executive is controlled by yet the other party. You see that the party agenda becomes quite difficult to implement, which is the third role I told you about, the leadership of the legislature.
Is this likely to throw up healthier debates in the Senate or in the National Assembly?
Yes, it should, because the opposition is strong, which is the critical thing. Forget this rancor. Party men have a way of resolving. Politicians will resolve, right? But the only thing, we're almost always in a hurry in Nigeria, that when something throws up, you want the resolution almost immediately. But with time, the anger will calm down.
We're looking at sanctions and...
You can't have a plus sanction if there were no rules. But
were there no rules in this case?
No, what I mean, I haven't read the constitution of APC to know that after election, there must be a caucus to determine who will be their official candidate. And once the decision of official candidate is decided, any member of the APC who goes outside it is regarded as a voter.
So you're going back to the straw polls. If
Okay,
it's
is
not
that the election?
if it's not embedded in the constitution
or the rules.
Or the rules.
It's a mere convention being developed. So you don't hold, there's no hard and fast rule.
And if it's not there, you think they're helpless in this case?
I saw some people threatening that they will go to court. I was a little bit worried.
Why?
Because Nigerians were very litigious. But the litigious nature of Nigerians would not help. It could help the development of our case law and democracy, but it could stall governance. Because the hallmark of the legislature, they are representatives of the people. They are the people to determine what is to be done and how it is to be done. In fact, the 4 cardinal positions of the legislature, we say first is representation. You must represent the views of your constituency. Second, lawmaking. You must make good laws, you're right, for the peace, governance, and security of the people. Yeah. Thirdly, we say, like in Nigeria, the third is entrenched by virtue of sections 58 and 59 read together with section 80. That gives the power of the purse to National Assembly. Precisely section 80 sub 4 tells you that no amount shall be expended from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation except in a manner prescribed by the National Assembly. So that becomes a third critical rule to approve money bills. So you cannot spend any amount. Though section 81 allows the president, because section 81 says the president shall cause to be presented before the National Assembly estimates of expenditure. But the fourth rule is oversight. Do you get what I mean? So if we stay so long on who is the leader and that, the governance quality suffers. And by governance, what do we mean? We're not too keen about the institutionalism, that independence of National Assembly, the independence of National Assembly could throw up the outcome of better governance. And when we talk about governance, the yardstick, transparency, accountability, responsibility, and all this.